So I am a bit of a sucker for year-long reading challenges. I just am. And so when Cassidy from Covers with Cassidy came out with the Romantasy Bingo Challenge, I had to start putting together a pile of books. She was very much inspired by the Our Fantasy Bingo Challenge, which I have participated in for the past 3 years. And I really enjoy trying to come up with books that will fit the prompts. And this challenge is no different, although I did give myself an extra challenge to pick books from my shelves, which I wasn't totally able to do. But if you could see what's in front of me, a lot of my books are in front of me because I was able to put them into some of these prompts. So let's just hop into the video so I can tell you more about the challenge as well as what Romantasy books I plan on reading over the next 12 months. Okay, so hi, my name is Angie. Welcome or welcome back to the channel, all of the things, right? So like I said, I'm participating in the Romantasy Bingo Challenge. I will, of course, link Cassidy's channel down below as well as the announcement video. In case you are also a Romantasy reader, like I have definitely gotten more into Romantasy over this past year, but I still have some kind of classic books that I haven't read yet. So this is pushing me to some of those, as well as some just books out of left field. So here's the board she put together for the year-long challenge. There are a few rules, although this is a very simple challenge. Basically, it runs from November 1st to October 31st, and then her plan is to come up with another board for next year. The other thing about it is that each prompt has a regular prompt and a hard mode prompt, and I'm aiming for hard mode. That's just my goal, is to try and see if I can fit books into hard mode, although it's okay if I get a couple that aren't. And then my goal is to fill out or black out the whole entire board, but you could obviously just go for bingos. Oh, there's also the rule that you can only use an author once. So it's not like you can just fill out the board with like Sarah J. Maas or something like that. You can only use one of her books. And I think that's great because it forces me to read a little wider, if you will. So let's just go through the board kind of line by line. So we'll start with the first row. And the first one is new release, published in the year you read it. Hard mode is debut author. Most of this challenge occurs in 2026. So you'll need a 2026 book. But if I'm able to get to this book in November or December, I really want to because I've seen it around and it sounds like my kind of book. And it's called The Second Death of Locke by V.L. Bavellano. Now this is her debut book and it's part of a series, but it's more of a companion kind of situation, almost like contemporary romance, but within the Romantasy genre. So this has to do with a knight and her mage, and they're on a quest of some sort. So it's definitely knights and quests, but it says that her magic well is not ordinary. If she is killed, all magic everywhere dies, or something like that. I heard this described as like a deeply romantic book, which I like those kinds of books. It made me think of Our Infinite Fates, but anyway. So this is what I'm planning on reading for that square. And then the next square I'm a little unsure of. It's hidden identity, hard mode being not royalty. The not royalty part is what kind of threw me off. I have one idea for that, but if, say, I don't want to read that, then I just want to read the straightforward prompt, I will be reading this because I have been loving Abigail Owens's books. I believe this might be YA, but it's called The Liar's Crown, and it's a second princess type of book. I had this book recommended to me after I loved Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry. I also found this book. It's an Amanda Bouchette series called A Promise of Fire. I feel like our main character has that hidden identity that she has the power to make kings or something like that, but it's an older series that I've been curious about and I've wanted to try out for a while. So that's an option that does hit hard mode. Okay, as for the next prompt, it's Take Down the System, which is a plot revolves around rebellions or revolutions. Hard mode is a dystopian setting. I have a number of options for this. The first being The Mime Order by Samantha Shannon. This is the second book in the Bone Season series. I would say the Bone Season series is more fantasy than romance, which is probably why I wasn't quite sure if I was going to use this, but I do have some other options I could use. First being this one, Rose in Chains by Julie Soto. I think the original book was a Hermione fan fiction that then Julie Soto rewrote into this story. So that is an example of kind of that dystopian world. So is this book. It's called The Order by Katerina St. Clair. Now this sounds like exactly what the prompt is, a rebellion trying to overthrow. Although I hear that this is a little bit more dark, like the person I got the recommendation from called it like a dark tragedy romance. That tragedy word makes me a little unsure if there's going to be a happy ending. Maybe there's not. But I heard it's a really, really good series, like emotional series, but really good. So that might be another one I pick up, and I think that's on KU. But then the next square is BIPOC author. So the hard mode is flowers on the cover. So for me, this was easy. I don't own this book because it's on KU, and I wanted to try the first book out before I committed to buying the series, and that's Trial of the Sun Queen by Nisha J. Tooley. I know it involves trials, but I'm blanking on kind of the specifics of that, but that is probably the one I'm going to read because I've been wanting to start that series for a while. Then the last one on this row is first person. So the book's written in first person, hard mode being new to you author. I have so many options for this that I wish I could spread these out into other categories, but I can't. I have When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. I've been wanting to read this book for so long, and it is first person, and I haven't read anything by her, and I really want to. But I also have this one, which is also always recommended to me, and that's Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. This is the first book in the Kindred Curse saga. I haven't read anything by this author, so that hits hard mode. I also have this book out from KU, and it just depends if I'm in the mood for this. The Book of Azrael by Amber V. Nicole, which I heard this book has a very strong female main character. So I have like 3 options for this one. Moving to the second row, and the first square there says blank of blank, a title that has exactly this pattern, no extra words, just blank of blank. So like Servant of Earth, which Servant of Earth is on my TBR, but you'll see it's actually further down, so I'm not going to use that. What I have tentatively slotted here, if I don't want to hit hard mode, which is a book that does not involve fae, I would throw this one on there because I need to read this, and I'm hopefully reading this in November. And that's the final book in the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas, and that's Kingdom of Ash. The other thing I could do if I wanted it to be not fae, like it's a Viking romantasy type story, and so that's The Road of Bones. So technically this is The Road of Bones, but the second book in this series is Kingdom of Claw, which I think fits it better. So it depends on how pedantic I want to be, if I want to ignore the, because there are so many options if you don't count the or the a. But if it can't have that, there are fewer options. But Kingdom of Claw works, and that's book 2. And I'm hoping to get to this series in 2026. And I tend to binge series, so that's another good option for this square. The next square is Indie to Trad Pipeline. Since there are so many romantasy books that are getting picked up, which is just wonderful for like the genre and the authors, and hard mode being a sequel. As long as this series was originally indie, even if it's being picked up and the sequel is now traditionally published, it still counts, because that's what I'm going with. I'm going with the third book in the Wolf King series by Lauren Palferman. Love the first 2 books, The Wolf King and The Night Prince. Actually, The Night Prince is fantastic, but I will be reading book number 3 when it comes out, and I think it comes out maybe next summer, hopefully next summer. Next square is Rep Matters, a book that has some sort of representation, and hard mode is own voices for that rep. And so I had this book on my shelves and I've been wanting to pick it up. It's called The Night Ends with Fire by KX Song, and it is a Mulan retelling. And so our author has roots in Hong Kong and Shanghai, and obviously she's writing a Mulan retelling. So this is going to be perfect for that square. And the next square though is Start a New Series. And the hard mode is author writes in multiple genres. The classic one that came to mind was like the Devney Perry, because I've read both her romance like Indigo Ridge as well as Shield of Sparrows. I did some digging and I came up with this book, which I was really proud of myself because I want to read this book. And that is Servant of Earth, which has the blank of blank title. And this is by Sarah Hawley. She also wrote a romance book, and it's called A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon. I'll pop it up here. It's very romance. I mean, it does have that speculative aspect to it because of the demon, but I feel like this screams contemporary romance more than like fantasy romance. So I think this qualifies then for that prompt. And then the last square for this row is urban setting. Hard mode being a secondary world, so not of our world. I have a couple good options. Again, this is a square where I'm not sure because I want to read both of these books. The first being City of Gods and Monsters by Kayla Edwards. I've been wanting to read this book since I've heard everybody talk about it, as well as this one. But it's called A House of Bane and Blood by Alexis L. Menard. I think this one sounds really fun. It has to do with an arranged marriage, but this is a potential. So that finishes off row 2. Moving to row 3, it starts with Ghosts and Ghouls. Hard mode being the love interest is one of them. So I had a couple ideas for this. So in Cassidy's announcement video, she said ghouls being like demons, but not monsters. Not that I wanted to read a monster romance, I don't. So that meant I could read any of the Carrie Maniscalco books, like all the Kingdom of the Wicked or the Throne of the Fallen. I haven't read any of those, but those are all like the Princes of Hell. So I could read those, but I've been seeing this book around, Vesselless. I don't know exactly what it's about. I think it's a trials book. That's one option. The next one is Voice Inside Your Head. Hard mode being not an animal companion. This is hard because you just don't quite know from descriptions, but I believe this has the voice in the head. So this is Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher, because the sword is sentient. Maybe if you have read this, let me know for sure if there's a voice in the head. If not, I'll find another book, but this was on my shelves, so I wanted to put it on my TBR. Next is Friend Wreck, Hard Mode from Cassidy's channel. And I'm putting Blood and Steel by Helen Shore, mainly because I'm buddy reading it in November, and so I could count it for this challenge if I put it on this square. The next prompt is Book Talk Hype. Hard mode, it's still indie at the time of reading. So what I've been seeing a lot on Book Talk right now is this book, A Bargain So Bloody by Vasilisa Drake. It is very much still indie published at this time, and it just sounded really interesting. It has to do with like a vampire and a prison. So our main character's, I think she was a princess who for some reason is put in the prison, and then she's next to a vampire who they strike a deal. Like if she helps him, he will take her out of prison. So for right now, that's the book I'm putting in there, but that one obviously can change over the next 12 months. And then the last prompt on that row is Forbidden Romance, hard mode being not enemies to lovers. This was so hard. Everything is labeled enemies to lovers, even if like after a while they're nowhere close to enemies. I did have a few books that I feel fall into this based on some research, and the first being This Woven Kingdom by Tahara Mafi. And the reason it's forbidden is because I think it's a prince and a commoner. And so because of that, I feel like there's no way it's enemies to lovers, but I could be wrong. You could correct me down below if you know better. But at least in this first book, I don't think there's any enemies to lovers. Maybe that develops over time, but that's one option. As well as this one is We Hunt the Flames by Hefsa Fazal, that our main female character is called a hunter, and then the son of the sultan is sent after her to kill her because I think she found some sort of artifact or something like that. It doesn't make them enemies. They're definitely forbidden in the sense that there shouldn't be a romance in that situation. So those are the two options that I potentially could read for forbidden love. Okay, moving to row number 4, trials. So I said that. There's so many books that have trials. I've already mentioned a number of them. Trials is the easy mode. Hard mode is an academic setting. For some reason, I had a harder time with the academic setting of that. I could read Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. Now that does not fall into academic setting, but I have been wanting to read this one for so long. So if I'm feeling like this book, I'll just do the easy mode for this. But the book I did find qualifies as both trials and academic is this book. It's a YA book called House of Marion by J.L. There's so many trial books, and I was having a tough time with trial books. But I think I'm going to put this one on here. Next is Two Love Interests, hard mode being not a love triangle. So you could go why choose. I haven't really dove into why choose too much. A little lower, I'm going to try one. But upon Cassie's recommendation in that announcement video, I can read this. And I want to. And I've been putting off reading this because of the publication of the second book. I didn't want to wait. I feel like I'm waiting on a lot of books right now. And so I've decided not to start Dire Bound by Sable Sorensen, even though I feel like I would really like it. It has kind of Fourth Wing vibes except with wolves instead of dragons. So I think I would really like it. That's what I'm putting in for two love interests, but not a love triangle kind of situation, which is also a prompt that I feel like you need recommendations for. That's hard to like suss out based on descriptions. I'm trying to think if there's any I can recommend to you. The Warrior Princess Assassin by Bridget Kimmerer Woodwork. It's not why choose, but it's more polyamorous. So there's two love interests, but it's not a love triangle. Next square is Single POV. Hard mode is published 5 or more years ago. I feel like there's enough options for me in this just because I am a newer reader of Romantasy. So there's lots of backlist I could go with, but I have this book that I have just wanted to start, and it was published in 2020, and that's Fortuna Sworn by K.J. Sutton. This is the first book. It's actually the shortest. They get much, much bigger. And I think this is kind of an arranged marriage of sorts as well. I think she's looking for her brother or something like that. She has nightmare magic. I don't know, it just sounds really fun. And then next one is Court Setting. This was another hard one for me. Hard mode being animal on the cover, but I found a good one, which I currently have out from the library. So it's A Dance of Lies by Brittany Arena. From what I understand, this is kind of like there was a girl in prison and then she was let out. She just has to act as a spy at a royal gathering. So this very much court politics, and I really want to read it. It sounds really fun. Oh, and then the last square for the 4th row is a whole new world. Main character is transported somewhere new, aka portal fantasy. Hard mode is a retelling or a reimagining. This is where I'm using the wide shoes that I'm going to try. And that is Bonded by Thorns by Elizabeth Helen. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And I don't know much more than that actually. Last row. We're almost there, you guys. I know sometimes these videos are challenging, but it's nice to get some recommendations. So I hope this is helpful. Okay, so the first prompt is reluctant allies to lovers. I do love this trope. Hard mode, a marriage of convenience. I also love that trope. And so the book I have on my shelves for this, I've been wanting to get to, and it's The Serpent and the Wolf by Rebecca Robinson. And this is definitely an arranged marriage. I can't remember why or what the promises are from both parties, but I wanted to read it, and I think the second book is either out or coming out next year. But give me more of those kinds of recommendations because those are 2 of my favorite tropes. But to move on, one word title, Hard mode is Gothic. Now I could just use Holly by Adeline Grace. I'm planning on reading that in December. I have kind of a stack of a bunch of little novellas from my favorite series that I want to read. And so that's like the holiday novella for the Belladonna series. And so that's one option, one word, Gothic. But I could also go with Anathema by Carrie Lake. I've heard this is really good, very atmospheric, very kind of dark fantasy. It seems like it might be a little like gory and monsters potentially. So I haven't picked it up yet, but it's on my potential pile. The next prompt is Shifter Romance, hard mode being not wolves. I had a tougher time with this, although I would highly recommend Kingdom of the Crows by Olivia Wildenstein. If you haven't read that, that's like a perfect recommendation for hard mode. But I've read it and I really liked it. But that got me thinking about Olivia Wildenstein. And she has a Wolf Shifter series that I've seen on her backlist before. And I wanted to get through all of her books because I just really enjoy them. And so it's the Bolder Wolves series. And the first one being A Pack of Blood and Lies. So this one I'm putting in here as an easy mode option, but I would take some recommendations for hard mode. I just don't know, like I've heard of like Dragon Shifters. I don't know what books those are, and some other non-wolf shifters. So just put some recommendations down below if you have some that you think I should read that I just didn't think of. The next one is Weapon on the Cover, hard mode, powerless main character. This prompt is pretty much written for this book, which is Powerless by Lauren Roberts, the sword and the main character is powerless. I can't believe I still have not read this book, but this would be a perfect prompt to do that. So reading from my shelves, I'm going to put this on for that prompt. And then the last prompt for this whole bingo challenge is a chunky series, a series that has 4 or more books. And the hard mode is this world / series is interconnected with another. Think like Cosmere, but Romantasy. I have the perfect book for this, and that is the Broken Kingdom series by L.J. Andrews. So I'm on Night of Masks and Knives, which is book 4. So these are set in trilogies. Then there is the pirate ones, like the Everking and Everqueen ones. So I'm all for it. I'm excited to keep going with this series because I read the first 3 all at once, and I feel like once I start this next 3, I'll want to read the next 3, and they're all on KU. So that's what I'm putting here. It's like the perfect book for this, and also gets me to continue on with this series. So you guys, that's a lot of Romantasy books. There's a lot of options. I didn't even give you very many like recommendations, or this video would have been so long. But please let me know if you have any recommendations for me, especially on those couple of prompts where I couldn't quite get hard mode. Let me know if you have any thoughts. But otherwise, I'm excited for a year-long Romantasy reading challenge. I feel like this won't be hard for me per se because I've been more in the mood, but as long as I stay in the mood to read Romantasy, this will be perfect. So anyway, go check out Cassidy's channel, her announcement video, all the things. Go support her channel. She's fantastic. And let me know down below if you're thinking of participating in this challenge. But if you can't think of anything you necessarily want to say, let's do a sword of some sort, a sword and a heart for Romantasy. But that's what I have. So like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel if you want to. And you guys, I'll see you in the next video. All right, take care.